Mara, if you hear this and I don't come home, please tell Dad I tried. That was the voicemail my daughter never meant to send me. Her voice was barely above a breath, broken by the sound of rain, a child crying somewhere in the background, and then a man's voice, low and furious, saying her name like it belonged to him. I am 68 years old, friends, and I have lived long enough to know fear in several languages. I have heard it in burning houses. I have heard it through dispatch radios. I have heard it in the silence after a door doesn't open. But nothing in my life ever emptied me out like hearing my daughter whisper, "Please don't let him take Ava." 12 minutes later, I was standing in my son-in-law's driveway with a crowbar in one hand, a sheriff's cruiser screaming up behind me, and my granddaughter wrapped in a quilt against my chest. My daughter was bleeding by the porch steps. Her husband was on the ground with one boot planted in the mud and one hand zip-tied to the railing, shouting that I had broken into his home and stolen his child. He kept yelling, "He's just a crazy old janitor." And I remember thinking, even then, with the rain running down my face and Ava shaking under that quilt, how strange it was that a man could live under the same sky with you for 7 years and never once wonder what you survived before he met you. My name is Raymond Cole. Most folks in Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, know me as Ray. Gray beard, bad left knee, flannel shirts, old Ford Ranger, the man who opens the community center every morning, mops the basketball court, fixes the broken vending machine when it steals $1 from a kid, and drinks gas station coffee so burnt it could strip paint. That is who people see. And for a long time, that was all I wanted them to see. Before that, I spent 31 years with the Baltimore Fire Department. Ladder company first, then rescue squad, then arson investigation, after my body started reminding me I wasn't 25 anymore. I pulled people out of row houses, cut teenagers out of cars, crawled down hallways so black with smoke you couldn't see your own glove in front of your face. I carried children. I carried old men. I carried people I was too late to save. When I retired, I came west to the river because I wanted quiet. I wanted the kind of town where church bells still meant something, where people knew which porch light belonged to which widow, where the train whistle could make a lonely man feel less alone. My wife, Lillian, had always wanted to live near the mountains. She died before I could give her that. Heart attack in the kitchen on a Tuesday morning. One minute she was telling me I put too much salt in the eggs, and the next minute the world had a hole in it. After that, my daughter Mara was all I had left. Mara was 39 when she married Grant Whitaker. She had my wife's eyes and my stubbornness, which meant she could forgive almost anything except a lie. Grant worked in insurance, drove a black truck too shiny for a man who never hauled anything, and smiled like he'd practiced it in mirrors. He was handsome in that clean, expensive way. Good hair, good watch, good handshake. The kind of man older ladies at church called polished. I tried to like him. I need you to understand that. I really did. When your daughter has already lost her mother and she comes to you with hope in her face, you don't go looking for cracks in the foundation. You bless the house and pray it stands. The first crack showed itself at a church fish fry. Mara had made lemon bars from Lillian's old recipe. She was proud of them. I could see it in the way she kept checking the tray, the same way her mother used to pretend not to care if people took seconds. Grant picked one up, took a bite, and made a face just sharp enough for the table to notice. "Sweetheart," he said, laughing, "your mama must have skipped the baking gene with you." Everybody chuckled because that's what people do when cruelty is wearing a nice shirt. Mara laughed too, but her fingers went tight around her napkin. I saw that. I saw the little flinch before the smile. Men who hurt people rarely start with fists. They start by teaching the room to laugh with them. After that, I watched closer. At Sunday lunch, he corrected her stories. "No, Mara, that's not what happened. At the grocery store, he spoke for her when Mrs. Bentley asked how she was doing. She's tired. She doesn't manage stress well. At Ava's preschool Christmas program, he gripped Mara's elbow too hard when she forgot his coat in the car. He let go when he saw me looking. There are things you learn in rescue work that never leave you. Smoke stains above a doorframe, a window cracked from heat before flames show. People standing too calmly outside a burning house. Signs. Always signs. But signs are not proof, and a father has to be careful. Push too hard and your child may pull away to protect the very lie that's killing her. So I stayed near. I showed up. I fixed Mara's back steps. I took Ava for pancakes on Saturdays. I asked questions without trapping her. And every time, she told me the same thing. We're fine, Dad. She said it so often it stopped sounding like an answer and started sounding like a prayer. Grant never liked me. Not really. At first, he hid it behind jokes, then he stopped hiding. One 4th of July, we were all at my neighbor Pete's place, sitting under those cheap string lights while kids chased fireflies in the yard. Grant had been drinking whiskey from a travel mug and pretending it was iced tea. He looked over at me while I was helping Ava light a sparkler and said loud enough for 3 tables to hear, "Ray, you ever get tired of pretending that community center job is important?" The yard got quiet. I kept my hand steady over Ava's sparkler. "Somebody's got to keep the lights on." He grinned. "Sure, but come on. A man your age pushing a mop around? I don't know. I'd rather die before I let my wife see me fall that far." Mara's face went white. I smiled, because old men know sometimes silence is a stronger wall than anger. "Careful what you wish for, Grant," he laughed. "There it is. That scary old man line. What are you going to do, Ray? Sweep me to death?" A few people laughed because they didn't know what else to do. Ava looked up at me and whispered, "Grandpa, is Daddy being mean?" I bent down and said, "Your daddy's just talking too loud, pumpkin." But I saw Mara look away, and I saw the bruise near her collarbone, half covered with makeup and a scarf in July. That night, after everyone left, I sat in my kitchen under the yellow light with Lillian's Bible on the table and my hands folded so tight my knuckles hurt. I wanted to drive over there. I wanted to kick his door in. I wanted to be 35 again and strong enough to make a man regret every breath he'd wasted being cruel to my child. But wanting is not wisdom. Instead, I opened the old metal file box I kept in the hall closet. Inside were fire department certificates, photos from my company days, Lillian's hospital bracelet, and a little laminated card with 3 phrases written on it. When Mara was 16, after a girl from her high school got grabbed in a parking lot, I taught her emergency phrases. Nothing dramatic, just plain words that sounded normal to anyone else. If she ever called and said, "Did you leave the porch light on?" it meant come get me. If she asked for Mom's blue sweater, it meant call police. And if she mentioned Aunt June's red umbrella, it meant a child was in danger. We laughed about it back then. Mara said I was being overprotective. Lillian told me I watched too many cop shows. But she laminated the card anyway because she knew me. She knew I had spent my life seeing what happens when good people think bad things only happen somewhere else. 2 months after that 4th of July, Mara stopped bringing Ava to pancakes. Grant said Ava was busy. Grant said Mara needed rest. Grant said they were focusing on family boundaries. That phrase told me more than he meant it to. Men like Grant love words that make control sound healthy. Then, on a cold Thursday in November, Mara called me from the bathroom at work. I could hear the echo in her voice. "Dad," she said, "do you remember Mom's blue sweater?" My chair scraped the floor. "Where are you?" She started crying but swallowed it fast. "I'm okay. I'm at the library. I can't talk long." "Is Ava safe?" "Yes." "Is he there?" "No." I was already reaching for my keys. "I'm calling Sheriff Dale." "No," she whispered, panic rushing into her voice. "Please don't. Not yet. He checks everything. My phone, my miles, receipts. He said if I embarrass him, he'll make sure I never see Ava without him in the room." There it was. The cage. I closed my eyes. "Baby, listen to me. You are not embarrassing anyone. You are surviving." She cried then, quietly, the way people cry when they have trained themselves not to make sound. We made a plan. Slow, careful, legal. She would document everything. She would talk to a victim advocate in Martinsburg. She would keep a bag at the library with Ava's birth certificate, a copy of her car key, cash, and a burner phone. I gave her the number for a retired deputy I trusted. I told her not to confront Grant. I told her getting out was the dangerous part. For 3 weeks, I slept with my boots beside the bed. Then came the night the ice storm rolled in. It was just after 11 p.m. The power had flickered twice. The river road was shining black. I was in the community center gym changing a fuse because the heater had gone out before a youth basketball tournament the next morning. My phone buzzed once, then stopped. A voicemail. Mara's name on the screen. I hit play. "Mara, if you hear this and I don't come home, please tell Dad I tried." At first, I thought she was talking to herself. Then I realized she had dialed me by mistake. Or maybe God had put her thumb where it needed to be. The phone rustled. Ava was crying. Then Mara said the words. Please don't let him take Ava. He found the bag. He found Aunt June's red umbrella. For 1 second, the world narrowed to that phrase. A child was in danger. Then Grant's voice cut through, close and ugly. Give me the keys, Mara. She said. You're drunk. He said. She's my daughter, too. Then something crashed. I did not feel my age when I ran to my truck. I did not feel my knee. I did not feel the rain turning to ice across my face. I called 911 with one hand and drove with the other. The dispatcher asked if I was sure there was an assault in progress. I said domestic violence, adult female, minor child, male intoxicated, possible abduction threat. Sir, are you headed there now? Yes. Sir, deputies are en route. Do not enter the residence. I looked at the road unwinding in front of me, white sleet hitting the windshield like thrown gravel. Ma'am, with respect, if he's putting that child in a vehicle, I am not waiting at the mailbox. Are you armed? No firearm. That was true. I had a crowbar under the seat, a seatbelt cutter in the glove compartment, and 31 years of knowing how to get through doors, windows, smoke, metal, and panic. Grant's house sat at the end of a gravel lane near an old apple orchard. No close neighbors, no porch light. His truck was running in the driveway, exhaust ghosting in the storm. The passenger door was open. Ava's pink backpack lay in the mud. I parked crooked behind him so he couldn't back out. Through the kitchen window, I saw Mara on the floor, one hand pressed to her cheek. Grant was dragging Ava by the wrist toward the side door. My granddaughter was in her pajamas, barefoot, screaming for her mother. There are moments when anger is too small a word. I have been angry in my life. At careless drivers, at city budgets, at God when Lillian died. This was not anger. This was something clean and terrible. The same thing that makes a man run into a burning house when every sane part of him knows the roof might come down. I grabbed the crowbar and moved. The side door was locked, but the frame was cheap. One hard pull near the latch, and it split with a sound like a rifle crack. Grant turned, eyes wide. Ava clutched against him. You broke my door, he shouted. I stepped inside. Let go of the child. Mara cried. Dad, no. Grant laughed, but it came out wrong. Nervous. Look at you. The janitor brought a tool. What are you going to do with that, old man? I set the crowbar on the counter. That confused him. I wanted both hands free. Let go of Ava, I said again. He yanked her closer. She's my daughter. Then stop scaring her. His face twisted. You don't get to walk into my house and tell me how to raise my family. Ava reached for me. Grandpa. That one word ended the conversation. Grant shoved her behind him and came at me with his shoulder down. He was younger than me by almost 30 years, bigger in the chest, full of whiskey courage and stupid pride. But drunk men telegraph everything. Their feet tell the truth before their mouths catch up. I stepped inside his swing, caught his wrist, turned him toward the wall, and used his own momentum to put him face first against the refrigerator. Magnets scattered across the floor. He cursed and bucked. I pinned his arm high, not to break it, just to explain the situation to his nervous system. Stop fighting, I said. He tried to twist. I shifted pressure a half inch. His knees bent. You're hurting me. No, I said. I'm stopping you. Mara crawled to Ava and pulled her close. Ava was sobbing into her mother's shirt. Blood ran from the corner of Mara's mouth. I heard sirens then, faint but coming fast. Grant heard them too, and like all cowards, he changed roles. Help, he screamed. He's attacking me. He broke in. He tried to kill me. When the deputies came through the broken side door, their flashlights hit my face, Grant's arm, Mara on the floor, Ava crying, and the crowbar sitting untouched on the counter. Hands. One deputy shouted. I let Grant slide down the refrigerator and raise both hands. Ray? The older deputy said. It was Dale Mercer. Retired Marine, county deputy, bad poker player, good man. Victim and child are there, I said. He's intoxicated. Threatened to take the child. Grant rolled onto his back. He broke into my house. Arrest him. Dale's eyes moved to Mara. His voice softened. Mara, honey, are you hurt? She looked at Grant. Then she looked at me. For a moment I saw the prison he had built around her, every threat, every apology, every night she had stayed awake calculating how not to set him off. Then my daughter straightened her back. Yes, she said, he hurt me, and he was taking Ava. Those words changed the air. The younger deputy cuffed Grant while he shouted about rights and property and lies. The EMTs came next. A woman with kind eyes wrapped Ava's feet in towels. Mara kept saying she was sorry. Sorry for the door. Sorry for the mess. Sorry I had to come out in the storm. I knelt in front of her, my knees screaming now that the danger had passed. Listen to me, I said. You do not apologize for calling for help. She broke then. Not a neat little cry. The kind that shakes years loose. I held my daughter and my granddaughter in that ruined kitchen while sleet tapped the broken door, and I thought of all the times I had seen smoke and told myself it wasn't fire yet. The days after were quiet, in the way hospitals are quiet after midnight. Heavy, full of machines humming and people whispering things they are afraid to say too loud. Mara came home with me. Ava slept in Lillian's old sewing room because she said it smelled like cookies, even though Lillian had been gone 8 years and I had no idea how a room could keep love that long. I put a nightlight by the door. Ava asked if Daddy knew where she was. I told her the truth a child could hold. You're safe with me and your mama tonight. The next morning, Mara sat at my kitchen table with a split lip, a bruised cheekbone, and both hands wrapped around a mug she never drank from. I should have left sooner, she said. Maybe, I answered. Her eyes filled like I had struck her. I reached across the table. But shame doesn't get to sit here and rewrite the story. Fear is real. Threats are real. Money is real. A child is real. You got out when you could. She shook her head. I let Ava see too much. Then we help her see something different now. She looked toward the hallway where Ava was sleeping. He said if I left, he'd prove I was unstable. He said everyone would believe him because he has friends, because he teaches Sunday school, because I'm emotional. There it was again, that polished smile, that good handshake, that public man who saved all his poison for home. Mara, I said, men like Grant do not need everyone to believe them. They only need you to believe no one will believe you. She covered her face. For a week, the truth came out in pieces. Control over bank cards, passwords changed, friends blocked, bruises explained as clumsiness. Apologies after every blow, flowers after every threat. Long prayers at church with his hand resting heavy on the back of her neck. A victim advocate named Denise came by the house. She had silver hair, red glasses, and the steady calm of a woman who had heard every version of hell and still believed people could walk out of it. Mara kept saying, I don't want to ruin his life. Denise leaned forward and said, Honey, accountability is not you ruining his life. It's him meeting the life he built. I liked Denise right away. The case almost turned, though. That is the part people don't understand. Truth by itself does not always win. It needs records. It needs witnesses. It needs somebody writing things down when everyone is tired and scared. Grant hired a lawyer who called me reckless. He said I invaded a home, assaulted a husband, traumatized a child. He said Mara was confused, unstable, coached by her bitter father. He said Grant had only been trying to take Ava to his mother's house so everyone could cool off. For 2 days, I thought maybe I had made everything worse. Then Ava saved us. Not on purpose. Children rarely know when they are being brave. She was sitting on my living room floor drawing with crayons while Denise talked with Mara. She drew a house with black windows, a truck, and 3 stick figures. One stick figure was small and blue. One was purple and lying down. One was big and red with long arms. Denise looked at it gently. Can you tell me about your picture? Ava said, That's Daddy being tornado. Mara turned away. Denise asked, What does tornado mean? Ava kept coloring. When Daddy gets loud and Mommy gets small. Nobody spoke for a moment. Then Ava added, Grandpa made the tornado stop. That drawing became part of a child counselor's report. The broken door matched my statement. The 911 call had the voicemail audio. The deputy's body cameras showed Grant's truck running, Ava barefoot, Mara injured, and the crowbar unused. Mara's phone, the one Grant thought he had wiped, still had cloud backups of threats he had sent at 2:00 the morning when he was too drunk to be clever. And there was more. Mara had hidden a little notebook inside the lining of an old diaper bag. Dates, times, what he said, what he broke, when he apologized, when he cried, when he promised God had changed him. 27 pages of a marriage dying in handwriting so neat it broke my heart. At the preliminary hearing, Grant wore a blue suit and the expression of a man offended that consequences had found his address. His mother sat behind him holding tissues. Several church folks came too, and I knew some of them had come to support him. That hurt Mara more than she admitted. His lawyer stood and painted a picture. Grant, the devoted father. Grant, the respected volunteer. Grant, the husband under stress. Then he painted me as a violent old man with a rescue fantasy, a retired fireman who missed being a hero. I sat still. That is hard, by the way. Sitting still while someone lies about your child is harder than dragging a hose line through flame. Fire is honest. It burns what it touches. Lies crawl around looking for weak spots. Then the prosecutor played the voicemail. The courtroom heard Mara whisper, "Please, don't let him take Ava." They heard Grant's voice. They heard the crash. They heard Ava cry. Grant looked at the table. The prosecutor showed the body camera next. There I was in the rain, hands raised, not swinging, not shouting. There was Grant screaming. There was Mara bleeding. There was Ava wrapped in a quilt and reaching for me with both hands. The lie lost weight right there. But the moment that truly broke it came when Mara took the stand. Her hands shook at first. I could see her thumb rubbing the place where her wedding ring used to be. The defense asked why she had not called police sooner. Asked why she had stayed. Asked why she had gone to church smiling beside him if things were so terrible. Mara looked small for one terrible second. Then she looked at Ava's drawing on the evidence table, and my daughter lifted her chin. "Because I was scared," she said. "Because he made me believe leaving would hurt my daughter more than staying. Because he was kind in public and cruel in private. Because every time I thought I had the courage, he found a new way to take it from me." The room went still. Then she said, "My father didn't come there to hurt Grant. He came because I finally told the truth in a language Grant didn't understand. I had to close my eyes." The judge granted the protective order. Grant was ordered to have no contact with Mara or Ava. Later came the criminal plea. Domestic battery, child endangerment, mandatory treatment. No unsupervised visitation. Jail time, not as much as some folks wanted, but enough that the town finally stopped asking Mara why she stayed and started asking why nobody had noticed. That question bothered me, because I had noticed. I just noticed slowly. After the hearing, Grant's mother stopped me outside the courthouse. She was a small woman in a tan coat, face worn out from crying. "Mr. Cole," she said. I didn't know. I believed her. "No parent wants to know that about their son," I said. She swallowed. "Do you hate him?" I looked through the courthouse glass at Mara kneeling to zip Ava's coat. "My girls, still breathing, still here. I hate what he did," I said. "That's enough hate for one old man." Winter loosened its grip by March. The river swelled. The dogwoods started opening white along the road. Mara got a little apartment over a bakery in Shepherdstown, where the mornings smelled like cinnamon and Ava could walk to school with other children. The first night there, Ava asked if tornadoes could climb stairs. Mara told her, "Not these stairs." Healing did not look like movies. It looked like Ava sleeping with the light on. It looked like Mara crying in the cereal aisle because a man dropped a jar behind her. It looked like me driving over at midnight to fix a lock that wasn't broken because she needed to see someone check it. It looked like court papers, counseling bills, bad dreams, and the first Sunday, Mara laughed so hard coffee came out of her nose. That laugh did something to me. It sounded like Lillian. One Saturday, Ava and I went fishing off the old stone wall by the canal. She had lost both front teeth and took the business of worms very seriously. After a while, she leaned against my arm and said, "Grandpa, why did Daddy want Mommy to be small?" I watched the water move around the rocks. "Some people feel big only when someone else feels small," I said. She thought about that. "Is that strong?" "No, ma'am." "What is strong?" I looked at her little muddy sneakers, her pink coat, the gap in her smile, and I felt the whole world asking me to answer carefully. "Strong is when people feel safe Because you were there. She nodded like that made sense. Children understand more than we give them credit for. In April, I went back to opening the community center every morning. Same mop, same burnt coffee, same kids leaving candy wrappers under the bleachers. But people looked at me differently for a while. That made me uncomfortable. A few men clapped my shoulder and said I had taught Grant a lesson. They wanted the story to be about toughness, about an old man proving he still had it. That is not what happened. I did not win that night because I was tough. I won because Mara was brave enough to send the code. Because the dispatcher stayed on the line. Because deputies arrived fast. Because evidence told the truth when fear almost couldn't. Because my granddaughter reached for me and reminded me what mattered. A man can spend his whole life learning how to break doors and still be useless if he doesn't know when to open one. In early summer, Mara came by while I was oiling the hinges on the community center's back entrance. She looked healthy in a way I had not seen in years. Not fixed. I don't believe in fixed. But present. Like she had moved back into her own body. She handed me a small envelope. What's this? Open it. Inside was a new laminated card. 3 emergency phrases. One for her, one for Ava when she got older. 1 blank line. I thought maybe we should keep the system, she said. I ran my thumb over the plastic and had to look away. I wish you never needed it. I know, she said. But I'm glad you taught me. Then she hugged me, and I felt how much thinner she had become, and how much stronger at the same time. Dad? Yeah? Thank you for not waiting outside. That sentence has lived in me ever since. I know there are people who will say I should have waited. Maybe they are right. Maybe if Grant had been armed, if deputies had been farther away, if one thing had gone wrong, this story would be told with flowers and folded chairs and somebody saying I meant well. I don't pretend there was no risk. But I also know what I saw through that kitchen window. I know what I heard in my daughter's voice. I know what it means when a child is barefoot in freezing rain and a drunk man has the truck running. So no, I do not regret going in. I regret every dinner where I heard him cut her down and told myself it was not my place yet. I regret every time I mistook her smile for peace. I regret thinking quiet was always wisdom. Sometimes quiet is just fear dressed up as patience. By July, Mara and Ava came to my house every Sunday after church. We cooked simple food, chicken, green beans, biscuits from a can because mine from scratch could be used as doorstops. Ava set the table with Lillian's blue plates and gave everyone too many forks. Mara would roll her eyes and say, Dad, why do you own 17 kinds of mustard? And for a few hours, the house sounded alive again. One evening, after Ava fell asleep on the couch with a stuffed rabbit under her chin, Mara and I sat on the porch watching lightning bugs blink over the yard. She said, I used to think coming back here meant I failed. I shook my head. Coming back alive is not failure. She leaned her head on my shoulder like she did when she was small. I forgot who I was, she whispered. No, I said. He tried to make you forget. That's different. She cried a little then. So did I. I am old enough now not to be ashamed of that. When I was young, I thought strength was running into fire. Then I thought strength was carrying the dead without letting your hands shake. Later, after Lillian died, I thought strength was needing nobody and keeping every room of my heart locked. I was wrong every time. Strength is answering the phone when someone you love is afraid. Strength is believing the whisper before it becomes a scream. Strength is holding your rage tight enough that it does not make the rescue about you. Strength is telling a child the truth in words small enough for her to carry. And sometimes, brothers and sisters, strength is calling someone who has gone quiet and saying, you don't have to explain, I just want you to know the line is open. So before I let you go, I want to ask you something. If you think I did the right thing walking through that broken door before the deputies arrived, comment a 1. If you think I should have waited outside no matter what, comment a 2. And if you understand why I went in but you still feel the weight of that choice, comment a 3. Tell me where you're watching from and what time it is there. Because it humbles me to think this old man's story might be landing in kitchens, porches, truck stops, hospital rooms, and quiet houses all across this country tonight. And if there is someone in your family who has gotten smaller lately, someone who laughs too quickly, apologizes too much, checks their phone before answering a simple question, don't wait for proof perfect enough to make you comfortable. Call them. not to accuse, not to rescue what they are not ready to name, just to remind them there is a door that opens. Because one day, the words may come in code, and when they do, I pray somebody is listening. Sometimes the bravest help begins with listening closely to the people we love, especially when their voice gets quiet. Raymond could not erase Mara's fear in one night, but he opened a door, believed her, and stayed. A family heals one safe moment at a time, one call, one gentle hand, one steady promise that says, "You're not alone."